Hello Internet, I am the hero of Helios once again with another One Piece chapter summary. This week's chapter is chapter 1088, Final Lesson. And with a title like that, what am I even supposed to say? Yeah. Um, Garp did say justice will prevail. So, the artwork for this week is actually a picture of our original East Blue 5 members of the Straw Hat crew, with a whole series of villains and friends from the first few chapters of the series, because the One Piece Netflix series is coming out next month. And I'm excited. I don't know about the rest of you, but the second trailer dropped recently, and it is my optimism is up and down with it because of just so many factors. Netflix's track record, the fact that live adaptations always try to do their own thing. Like I said in my video about it, I'm a little worried that the humor of One Piece will be lost, but that's not about this chapter. This chapter we will get into right now, as Garp is having a flashback to teaching Kobe about, well, not just Kobe, actually, a whole classroom about what to do in certain scenarios. The scenario he paints for them is, you are stuck on a deserted island with a baby and an old man and a boat that can only hold 2 people without sinking. What do you do? Kobe immediately responds with, I put the old man and the baby in the boat and send them off to sea, and I'll stay behind and try to figure out a way to survive. Garp immediately throws an eraser at Kobe's head, smacking him, and says, you idiot! You leave the old man to die, and you save the baby. And of course he gets scolded by other Marines about it, because all lives are equally important. It is the job of a Marine to protect everyone. To which Garp responds with, youth is what has infinite potential. Anyone who's old has already lived their life. They've already moved on with the things they wanted or needed to do in their life. It's a touchy subject, whose lives are more important than others, because the truth of the matter is, none. Everyone is equally important at the end of the day. However, Garp also raises a fine point of, if we're just talking in numbers of years left, in the grand scheme of things, a child and a baby, like Kobe, have way more years ahead of them than an old man like Garp. In terms of just raw numbers, it makes more sense to save the 2 of them. And that is the wisdom Garp is trying to impart on Kobe. Idealism that Kobe completely ignores about X number of days or years later, because we don't know exactly when this lesson was happening, but X number of time later, cut to Kobe basically telling Blackbeard, hey, I'll trade myself for all of these civilians. And Garp's just like, ooh, that's a pretty big price you're putting on your head. Sure, we'll take the kid. So, yeah, it's not a good plan. So this wisdom Garp tried to implant kind of backfired, but it's okay, because Garp has decided to explain to the 3 of them, it is time to be decisive. It is time to stop that giant hand, and here's how you're going to do it. I, Garp the Fist, will create a distraction. When you see that distraction, it is time to go do the thing. Kobe, you take care of the mountain-sized hand heading straight towards the ship. Gruss, when Kobe destroys the mountain-sized hand heading towards the ship, you will catch all the debris with your clay to prevent it from hitting the ship. And finally, Helmeppo, it is your job to make sure nothing interferes with Kobe stopping the mountain-sized hand heading towards the ship. And nothing prevents Gruss from stopping the debris of said giant hand. Of course, the 3 of them don't disobey orders, and they immediately shave off, heading towards it. And as they're going towards it, Gruss is running next to Kobe, and he goes, all right, so you've got some way of getting rid of that giant hand, right? And Kobe's like, no, I've got something, I guess. Garp wouldn't have sent me if I didn't. So they keep going as cannon fire starts hurtling towards them. Helmeppo sees the cannonball coming and immediately thinks of Garp's orders, and takes the hit, taking it as an explosion as the two of them keep moving forward. While the two of them are running away, Garp is being confronted by Kuzan, and Kuzan's heading towards him. He goes, "Hey, with those injuries, you probably shouldn't be moving around." And Garp gets up and he goes, "Oh, you mean these scratches? It's a bad idea to be concerned for your enemies, Kuzan," as Garp leaps towards the head of Hachinosu of Full-Lead Island. And poor Pizarro, he has no control over this happening, I guess, because his hands are over here and his hands are over here, so nothing stopping him from getting decked in the face by Garp, as Garp just bam, just wallops into the face, cracking the entire island and showing us a very important weakness of the island fruit. Pizarro took damage. Garp bashed in the face of that island, and Pizarro's face started to bleed. So, to answer a question from a few chapters ago, yes, when Garp Galaxy impacted the island, Pizarro probably felt that. Now, given the relative location of the square of the area to the head of the island, this either hit him in the chest area or somewhere much more painful. Regardless, Pizarro takes damage when the island takes damage. So the island fruit is not some invincible shield in front of you that you have to be cut through in order to get to you. Which we were kind of starting to theorize that the island fruit was the better version of the stone fruit, Pika's. But if this is the case, then I would dare argue the two of them are kind of equals. Given that if the island takes damage, you take damage. But in Pika's case, if a piece of the stone takes damage, he can just hide in a different part of it, eventually running out of stone, but eventually Pizarro will run out of island, so I think it's actually a pretty fair and evenly matched pair of devil fruits. So that's an interesting thing to learn there. But as Garp is causing this distraction and Kobe is getting closer and closer to the mountain-sized hand heading for the ship, he rears his fist back, taking a similar pose to Garp as we get one last flashback. It's not even Kobe's flashback, actually. It's Helmeppo and Garp talking, as Helmeppo tells Garp, even after they finish training and Helmeppo's going to bed, Kobe gets up and goes, "Hey, I'm a shrimpy guy. Look at my pudgy little Kobe arms. I can't even hurt a pillow, much less a bad guy. I have to train harder than anyone else." So little Kobe, shrivelly, frail, pudgy little Kobe, starts punching the battleship bags. Which is the foreshadowing of last chapter. I did not actually see this one coming. But yeah, Kobe starts punching the battleship bags. And we get back to the future where Kobe is rearing his fist back and he makes the Garp-inspired attack, Honesty Impact. And it just demolishes the entire mountain-sized hand that was heading towards the ship. And Pizarro's entire arm starts bleeding. So yeah, the more effort he puts into this, the more damage he takes. In a world where characters like Kaido and Garp and Big Mom and Luffy exist, the island fruit is actually starting to look less and less appealing to me in terms of powerful devil fruits, considering a giant limb is great, except all the damage it takes, you take as well. Regardless, Pizarro does, lose his giant stone arm, and Gruss makes the big web, and the call is given to Garp. Everyone's safe. We can get out of here, as Garp's laying back there, and he goes, "Awesome, everyone's on the ship. That is fantastic. Get everyone out of here. Each and every one of you has made me a very proud grandpa, unlike my certain straw-hatted grandson. Let's not talk about him right now. You kids, all of you, even Gruss, who was really looking for this validation, you are all the future of the Marines." So as the ship sails off without Garp, because that was their order, and we get Hibari crying and hugging Kobe, which It's adorable. Hibari Kobe forever. I wish I could say otherwise because I really did like the little interaction he had with Rebecca, but upon meeting her, Hibari is just too great. Hibari Kobe forever. But unfortunately, as cute as that was, Garp has to be left behind so that the future of the Marines can move on. So Garp lays there, big icicle spike in his chest, Blackbeard pirates gathering around him, and Garp is laughing. And as a member of the D Clan Monkey D Garp, one can only assume what could happen to him next. However, the narrator does not say Garp dies. The narrator says Garp went missing in action, which is entirely possible for Blackbeard to just have Garp captured as like a bargaining chip against Straw Hat Luffy in the future. Speaking of Straw Hat Luffy, the chapter ends with one last panel telling us that in addition to the successful rescue of Kobe at the cost of Monkey D. Garp, the fifth emperor, or I guess I should say no longer the fifth emperor, one of the four emperors, Monkey D. Luffy, is a part of the Egghead Island incident, where the Emperor of the Sea barricaded himself inside of Egghead Island. Luffy's not one to barricade. Luffy is one to stand and fight. He's not defensive, he's offensive. So it's very interesting that this word is used. But this does mean we are going back to the chapter, which means we get to see Luffy again. We get to go back to the island of Egghead, and we get to see Luffy again, and we get to see Robin and Chopper and everybody else, and we get to see how the beautiful and wonderful York is going to try and kill everyone. So, yeah, okay, we're finally going back to Egghead. Don't get me wrong. I've loved the Meanwhile at Everywhere Else because we usually only get that stuff in flashbacks or just like offhand comments of, like, we've never seen Kuzan and Sakazuki's fight. I wanted to see that. That'd have been cool. We actually got to see the kind of things that get talked about off screen. But it's nice to go back to form. So let's give a cheer and see what happens in the next chapter of One Piece. I know I'll be reading it, so that's probably what I'll do next week. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.